Alrighty guys, we're back for some rotation-proof Mire vehicles, and this is a Streets of New Capenna standard build. We're going to go over the deck, then hop right into some normal play mode, but first things first, for anyone who may not know, I'm Red Cat and I play aggro decks and any decks with red in them as well, so I hope that sounds fun to you guys. So this was actually a suggestion down in the comments, so thank you so much for the suggestion. I think this is going to be a ton of fun. We're rocking cards like Getaway Car, one of my favorite vehicles right now. 3 mana for an artifact vehicle, 4/3 with haste. It crews up for only 1. Whenever Getaway Car attacks or blocks, return up to 1 target creature that crewed it this turn to its owner's hand. So you don't have to use this ability, but it could totally be a cool ability to use when you have cards like Network Disruptor with a tiny little ETB that might help us tap down important blockers that the opponent's rocking. But then also being able to bounce back sagas just to get the first 2 abilities on them sounds pretty cool too. You don't always want to do that. That's why luckily it says up to 1. You don't have to bounce it back, right? So we have the 4 Reckoner raids in here, so it is a 1 mana saga. Each opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life, and that could go a long way if you are ending up bouncing this back just to play it again. I'm telling you guys, if you get multiple of these on in the same game and you're bouncing it back with Getaway Car sometimes, that can really add up very fast. And then of course this flips into Road Captain, a 2/2 with Menace, and vehicles you control have Menace. This card is going to be super important in here. We have plenty of vehicles that we want to crew up and swing on in with, and if they have Menace too, then that could be devastating for the opponent. Now other cards here on the front of the build, we got 2 Fading Hopes to help us protect our own creatures. Kind of a similar concept. If the Road Captain is going to die anyways, and the opponent doesn't have a bunch of cards to remove, then bouncing this back to your hand with your own Fading Hope could go a long way. And then of course, don't underestimate the Scry ability on Fading Hope too. It also helps us keep the lanes clear to keep on swinging in to get that damage through. March of the Swirling Mist is important protection for us and important just in general. Like the tempo that you get with this card is actually insane. You might want more of these, honestly. We have 2 Make Disappears. So it is rotation proof. We're losing things like Jwari Disruption, but Make Disappear could be really good in here. For casualty of only 1, that means we could sacrifice simple things like a Network Disruptor. So you can counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. And of course the casualty, if you pay that cost, you copy the spell. So you can essentially make the opponent have to pay 4 if they don't want it countered, which goes a long way, honestly. Most of the time you're doing this early on anyways, and they probably just don't have the 2 in general. So the casualty doesn't come in handy that often. We have 2 Mobilizer Mechs. This is a 2 mana 3/4 crew for 3. It has flying too. The fact that this is a flying 3/4 for 2 mana is kind of crazy. Now the crew cost is a little bit expensive, but I don't know, man. Like some of these vehicles are pretty stacked. Whenever Mobilizer Mech becomes crewed, up to 1 other target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Yeah, it's honestly, it's pretty good. Got 4 Spectral Adversaries, so this has flash and flying. It is a 2/1 for 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay colorless and a blue any number of times. So this is just you know, your basic adversary good stuff. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, you put that many +1/+1 counters on Spectral Adversary. Then up to that many other target artifacts, creatures, and or enchantments phase out. So nice. That's, I guess, one of the reasons why we're not rocking more March, because we're helping phase things out with Spectral Adversary too. Most of the time I think you're going to be hitting your opponent's creatures, because I think the deck I think this particular deck really knows how to get damage through, and so phasing out your opponent's creatures to keep the lanes clear and keep on swinging is probably going to be pretty important. What's cool about this is if you get it out there early on in the game, you can eventually bounce it back with Getaway Car, and then maybe actually use those adversary abilities too. Couple Infernal Grasps, just important removal, I suppose. Got a couple underdogs as well, just a very powerful creature, and it happens to have that 3 power that can crew up the Mobilizer Mech, and it just helps us crew up some of the other things too, like Reckoner Bankbuster has a crew for 3, 2 mana 4/4 vehicle, and of course you guys know Bankbuster at this point, ton of people are playing it nowadays. So entering with the 3 charge counters, you can pay 2, tap it, remove a charge counter to draw a card. And then when there's no more charge counters, what's cool about having this in a vehicle style deck too is you create that treasure token, but you also get that 1/1 pilot as well, which of course can crew things up as though its power were 2 greater. So that could go a long way in this build. In our 3 mana spots, guys, we got Geistlight Snare. So it costs 1 less to cast if you control a spirit. Well, the only spirit in the build is actually Spectral Adversary, but it also costs 1 less to cast if you control an enchantment. Well, the only enchantment we control is actually the Reckoner raid. So why this? I wanted another counterspell. If you really want to, just go up a 3rd, make disappear. But I think more often than not, we can at least use this for 2 mana. I really do believe that. There's 8 cards in here that can make this cost 2 mana. And so counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. It's already a little bit more powerful than make disappear in that sense, but of course you do have to have other cards on the board too. But I think it's not going to be unheard of to have a Reckoner raid and an adversary on the board and just have this cost 1 blue. There is a reason we only have 1 though, because yeah, the deck is not based around enchantments and it is not based around spirits either, so it's just a one of. Got a couple thirst for knowledge. Being able to draw in an aggressive deck is pretty important. It has that instant speed, so you can keep things open like the Spectral Adversary or just some of your counter spells as well, like Fading Hope or your Infernal Grasp, so removal can be kept open too. And if you don't use any of it, drop your thirst for knowledge, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact, which we have plenty of artifacts that we're willing to ditch for this too. But you know, it's mostly vehicles, so when you do draw those 3, you do want to think about it, because if you're already flooding out or something, ditching 2 lands is probably better than ditching one of your valuable vehicles. Already went over the Getaway Car. On the top end of the build, we have 2 Tezzerets, Betrayer of Flesh, a 4 mana, 4 loyalty planeswalker. The first activated ability of an artifact you activate each turn costs 2 less to activate, so that could be good with Bankbuster, I believe. So the +1 on this is draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. I don't know how often we actually use that, because the second ability on here is probably what we're going to be opting for most often, but we'll see. Target artifact becomes an artifact creature. If it isn't a vehicle, it has a base power and toughness of 4/4. So this helps us, I guess, essentially crew up some of the vehicles, so we don't need to have other creatures on the board to help crew them up. But then other artifacts that aren't a vehicle become 4/4s too, which it doesn't say like, it only says if it isn't a vehicle. It doesn't say if it isn't a creature or vehicle. So I'm pretty sure that would mean like Network Disruptor could be a 4/4 with flying instead. I've never been able to test out Tezzeret before, so I don't know. You guys will have to let me know in the comments if we don't get to see it in any of the matches today. So we have a couple Surgehacker Mechs here as well. 4 mana, 5/5, Menace with crew of 4, which is pretty expensive. But what's cool about this is when it enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to twice the number of vehicles you control to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. So yeah, pretty solid removal. We have a ton of vehicles here that this could work with, and of course it works with itself too if you get multiple of these in your hand. So yeah, it's that, guys. We have a mana base over here. We have a single Mech Hangar. Now, so you can tap this for a colorless, or you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast pilot or vehicle spells. That really only helps us cast the Mobilizer Mech in this particular build, but what this is really in here for is this last ability. For 3 mana, you can tap it, target vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. That's just another way for us to not worry too much about having to crew up our vehicles, and we'll see if it comes in handy at all. Of Of course, we have a couple of our Shipwreck Marshes and 2 Dismal Backwaters instead of 4 of them. I don't think we're going to have too many issues with the mana, but if you are having issues, you can go up to 4 of these, I suppose. Have an Abandoned Mire as well as a Soaring City as well. In the honorable mentions, Soul Ripper. This is a freaking terrific artifact vehicle, but I couldn't find room for it, and there's not going to be a lot of instances in this particular build where you're going to want to sacrifice an artifact or creature, and generally speaking, that's probably what you want to be doing with Soul Ripper, so this belongs in a completely different build, I would say, but something to bring up, I suppose, because, you know, it is a pretty powerful vehicle, honestly. Okay, guys, hopefully I didn't take too long to go over a simple little vehicle build here, but there's actually a lot packed into this, isn't there? Either way, let's go ahead and take it into some normal play mode and see how we do. Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a pretty fun one overall. It's like, you guys have been enjoying the Dimir content recently. Yeah, blue, black, just like, for some reason, knows how to get the job done on, like, on all levels. Like, of course, blue-black control, but then you have the crazy blue-black tempo right now, too. This is an alright hand. This is an alright one. I forgot to add my fancy pants land. Oh no. We might be up against Boros right away, and I think it's pretty safe to just keep our Spectral Adversary open for the turn. Might be mono red too. Gonna play a 1-drop or no? Alright, let's try the Adversary. This could be a play with fire, but that's not too bad. At least it won't be hitting our face then. Spikefield Hazard. Ah, man. That's a card I'm gonna both miss and not miss. Let's get the Bankbuster down. Maybe that can start helping us draw into some land next turn too. I forgot to go over the total amount of mana in this deck again, and whenever I forget to do that, I'm never sure how much the past version of me decided to add to a build. So looks like 24. Looks like we still have 24 land in here. But I don't know, I might be wrong. I didn't count correctly in the last video, so there's a land. That's good. March, Infernal Grasp. They're gonna get another Commando next turn. Infernal Grasp doesn't hit Planeswalkers. Thirst for Knowledge is pretty tempting, honestly. But I'm gonna keep Spectral Adversary open. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get the March for 2 could be pretty good too. They're gonna ramp here. Let's see what they get first of all, because it could be really bad. Okay. So that is pretty bad, honestly. Do we just Infernal Grasp? We could Infernal Grasp and March for 2 and ditch like the Tezzeret. We want to stop this. I know that much. Infernal Grasp the Relic Robber. And let's not take this damage, huh? Tezzeret is probably better than the Thirst. Hopefully we draw a land though. X is 2. Thirst. We better keep our Spectral Adversary as well. Yeah, phase those out for now. Okay, so we got a land, but it comes out tapped. So what we could do is we could draw off the Bankbuster, see if we get an untapped land, then we can at least do the Adversary on the same turn. It's pretty risky. I'm gonna do it. I don't like that it uses the blue source because we could draw a Fading Hope as well, which could be really good. Eee. Well, at least we're back up to 13. Okay, so Surgehacker hits pretty hard here. Chandra, okay.
This is a fun idea.
Okay, oh no. Yeah. See what they get on the top here. We got some mono red on the opponent's side, which makes me very happy. Mana running away with the game right now, though, so... Okay, there's some untapped mana, huh? It's a little late for that, but we could at least... So we can kill something with Surgehacker. We can Spectral Adversary once, phase one of these out. We're going to have an issue with Chandra here soon. We could Tezzeret, power up the Bankbuster as a blocker. I think it's Spectral Adversary. 1, 2, then we can crew up the Bankbuster successfully on their turn. How do you guys feel about that? Because it'll come out as a 3-2. Yeah, they're searching for some power. Oh, they found it too. Very nice. Very, very nice. Roiling Vortex. Oh no. Oh, that's probably gonna close out the game or something. Alright, well, let them swing, and we're gonna go ahead, get that adversary down. We're gonna get that reinforced Ronin out of the equation here while we can. Uh-oh, this might die. So we're gonna phase out one of the etchings, I suppose. And then we're gonna crew up. Yeah, something's sticking, but it might just be the Roiling Vortex here, probably. Yeah, that's probably what it is. We're gonna take the reinforced Ronin out of the equation. Take 4 damage. Woo! Tough uphill battle so far, guys, but we might be able to get there. I don't think so, not with the Vortex on the board. Gonna be taking 1 damage a turn, and we just don't have that amount of time. Royal Eruption, wow, they totally could have hit our face there. That would have been a nail in the coffin, I would say. It's still a nail in the coffin, unfortunately, guys. They can even -7 the Chandra, which I've never been able to do before. I've never been able to -7. I'm glad that we could let... Oh no, they didn't. They just searched for the answer on the top there. So if we would have gone Getaway Car, we could have actually successfully blocked with it instead, but then we wouldn't have been able to use the removal off the Surgehacker. Oh, there it is. Yeah, GG opponent. Oh, man. That looked like fun, though. For the opponent. No, so far, the deck, I don't know. Yeah, the last couple builds that I've had it's like, maybe it's just me. It feels like awkward draws, like weird, like little situations where, oh, we're just 1 mana short from doing both of the cool things. So I guess we'll do one of the cool things this turn. And I don't know, has that been happening to you guys recently too? Might be just all in my head, honestly. Man, okay, yeah, sure, I guess. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'll keep it. Having the make disappear early on is really good, so... Like, it's a good hand, we just don't have any black sources. Brokers, okay, this could be fun. Sure, we'll get the Mech Hangar down, I suppose. Why not? See if we can make something disappear this turn. But it's also decent for next turn, too. Okay, I don't want them to have Ruin Crab, though. I gotta be 100% with you guys. That's not something I want them to have. Even though there's probably better targets for a Make Disappear. Yeah. You can lose pretty fast. So, no black source for Tenacious Underdog. I'm gonna just keep the Spectral Adversary open here, even though we can't successfully pay for that. Okay, so they found their second Ruin Crab. Yeah, we might have wanted to mulligan here, but like, it wasn't a bad hand, you know what I mean? As long as we don't just continuously draw cards that we can't play. Surgehacker can eventually hit that, so let's get this down and get that Getaway Car swinging through, because we got to start being a little bit aggressive here. Another blue source. So let's go ahead, get this going, and we are going to bounce this back to our hand. Yeah, we lost a couple swamps to the mill. That's exactly what we expect from mill, unfortunately. I know for a fact that you guys have gone through the same exact situation where you're looking for something and it gets milled away. Yeah, they found their third ruin crab too. I don't know, guys. I don't know. We definitely got to kill one with the Surgehacker, so as long as they don't counter it or protect it with like a snakeskin veil or something, then we could be okay. The biggest scary thing is if they go ahead and really they get rid of the Getaway card. That's terrible for us, guys. Because what that means is now Surgehacker can't hit a Ruin Crab, and next turn, what if they just bring all their lands back? Okay, now we're getting land, huh? That's good. Spectral Adversary can actually take out both Ruin Crabs here. Just fade them on out. Or phase them on out. Yeah, I think that's what we do. Let's see what they end up doing with their Ruin Crabs first. It sucks because they will get to drop a land, but if they have that one card that brings all the lands back. All right, now's the time to go ahead, take out those Ruin Crabs while we can. 1, 2. Boop, boop. Now what sucks about phasing them out is now again, Surgehacker still won't be able to do any damage to them, so. Oh, a strangle! Oh man! Oh man. This is tough, guys. Good draw. Very good draw. Go Tenacious Underdog. Get that Getaway Car down. We got to start being more aggressive here, guys, because those double... And we submit 0. Those double crabs are terrifying. Yeah, Strangle sucks because we would have had a much more aggressive turn with a 4-3 flying, huh? Yeah, they dropped their land. The triple Ruin Crab is pretty terrifying, guys. Towards the beginning of Streets of New Capenna, I attempted to make a similar Teamer Ruin Crab deck with all of these and that one card that brings all of your lands back and whatnot. And through like, I don't even know, maybe like 5 to 10 test matches, I just couldn't find the crab and gave up on the build completely. But it was going to be a planned video, but if you can't find it, then it feels like it wasn't meant to be, you know? The good news, we get to get rid of one of the crabs, but bad news, we're at 16 cards remaining. This feels like more removal. Takes out the Getaway Car. All right. And we can actually just decline. Yeah, that's probably game. So we decline because we don't want more of our cards to disappear from the deck. We can successfully swing here because they probably don't block. But I think we're dead. I think we're dead. Let's see. Let's see if the opponents have it here. Yeah, that is 12 cards. So we're gonna be down to 4 cards remaining. And then they can totally return one of these lands back to their hand for next turn. Hey, Tenacious Underdog. So our vehicles are about to have menace. Something to note with Reckoner Raid is it doesn't have haste. So, like, it's really easy to think of Kumano. Kumano's just insane, guys. Kumano's actually just insane. So we can drop the Reckoner Raid. Actually, we can abandon Mire the rest of the card because we're dead next turn either way. Because the Ruin Crab, they just play their land. So we could bring back. What could we bring back here? Target creature or planeswalker? Oh, we don't even have the double black for the other underdog. Oh, yeah. Well, we might as well do this. That's really funny, actually. And let's bring the Tezzeret back. So we're out of cards in the deck, but we were dead either way. We might as well tap these down. This has Menace, which is pretty cool. Yeah, good game. Very good game, opponent. That was a tough uphill battle. The facing 3 Ruin Crabs, and then they actually were able to protect them very, very well. So not being able to remove them was actually just really bad, wasn't it? Yeah, the Surgehacker kind of shows a lack of power there. Whenever they're actually able to remove your artifacts, then you kind of just fizzle out that Surgehacker. But overall, that's not going to happen that often. I wouldn't think that would happen that often. We still had to try, though, for sure. Like, we had to remove those crabs as soon as possible. Nice. We actually got, like, a hand that we can work with. That we're not just, like, sitting here sweating like, oh no, are we going to draw what we need? I'm gonna go Bankbuster here. Since we went first, that's pretty good. Next turn we have... What? We got some vehicles over there too? That's fun. Okay, let's go. We keep the Adversary open. As well as the Bankbuster. And the Infernal Grasp. That's pretty cool. Aw. See what they hit here. Yeah, they're gonna take the Bankbuster. Do we draw? Let's draw. Let's do it. Getaway Car. Yeah, because we're looking for a 4th mana too. Nice! Giant Ox with Colossal Plow. They get to swing right in with this. Oh, man. Okay, I should have kept the Infernal Grasp open probably, but... I'll tell you what, guys, the opponents have really had it recently, and you guys are probably getting sick of me saying that, but that's what it feels like. Everything's lining up. I'm honestly, I'm surprised. What do I keep open? I guess we got to keep the Infernal Grasp open, but then we have the Geistlight Snare too, so... I'm surprised at how well it works out for everyone, but at least we have the attempted... It's an attempted Infernal Grasp, because they could just counter this right now. Okay, we killed it. That's good. That's very good news. Mobilizer Mech? Mobilizer Mech? Okay. So, I wonder... Okay, we got a Backwater. We could Thirst for Knowledge. Look for an untapped land, but... Because we really want to phase out the Ox before they can start powering up these mechs. Let's just go Getaway Car. What, like, they can fly in the air with both of those mechs next turn anyways. See, if we draw a land, we could start to gain the life back from the Road Captain. Let's do that. Because what we could do is we could go land, raid, and then have Spectral Adversary for 4. So they go for the mechs, 6 damage, and yeah, the life gain off of raid could go a long way here too. So we still have 3. Man, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we need more removal in here somehow. The Surgehacker doesn't hit the Ox, but it does hit the Hot Shot. They can still just power up the mechs. I think I'm gonna get... I think I'm just gonna... Oh man. I don't know. I think I'm gonna pass. I think keeping Thirst for Knowledge open might be a key here. So they're gonna crew that up. Okay. They're gonna swing with the hotshot mechanic here too. So we could totally go Spectral Adversary, block the mechanic, but we could also chump one of these. Taking 6, Thirst for Knowledge, or this could be 8 and Thirst for Knowledge to search for something, but what are we searching for, guys? Now, what we could have done instead of playing the raid is actually kept this open. I hope this doesn't die to like a Fateful Absence. Yeah, we could have kept this mana open and phased out one of the mechs to take even less damage. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Another Mobilizer Mech and another hotshot mechanic. Oh, buddy. Hey, there's the mana we needed last turn. That's kind of what I mean. It's like everything's kind of like lagging behind a little bit with my builds recently, and I can't really tell. I can't really tell if I'm getting unlucky, if I'm just building very poor decks recently. Really can't tell. So Surgehacker, we got, so Spectral Adversary can phase one of them out. But they can crew all of these, huh? Yeah, I think we just have to hold it all back, unfortunately. And kind of the same concept here again. If we would have had mana 2 turns in a row instead, then the Spectral Adversary would be able to phase out 2 different things. And then they can crew that up too. Yep. Okay. And then we actually, like, we don't have great blocks here. So we start with this. We phase one of them out. And then we are forced to block, just chump the other one and take the 3. Actually, no, that's only if this blocks. We have nothing to block. I was gonna say, yeah, we could power up Getaway Car, send it back, but no, Getaway Car would have had to block too. Hey, Infernal Grasp. We're at 2 though. Oh no. Oh no, God. Oh man. Well, I guess that's that. We can't even blitz this down. I think we're dead. Let's go ahead, swing in here. Bounce this back because we actually can now. Wandering Emperor. Nice. The Geistlight Snare came in handy. That's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. And then Infernal Grasp is going to kill us, so we might as well play out the Tenacious Underdog. Yeah, GG opponent. Brutal matches, guys. Brutal. The opponents have really had it. That looks like fun, though. Mobilizer Mech looks insane, doesn't it? This is a case of the matchmaker pitting us up against a similar deck, too. Which is very odd. A lot of you guys have pointed out... Oops, good game, opponent. A lot of you guys have pointed out that it's very weird that it likes to put you up against decks that are playing similar cards, because why? Why would we want to do that, you know? Don't we want to see the most variety as possible? Which you can say then, oh, I'll just go into ranked then, but that's even less variety. We played ranked all week, and by far, like, most of the video was just me fighting Boros, and that was it. Even though it's not even that much of the meta. It's a lot of the meta, don't get me wrong. It's still at, like, I don't even know, 15% or something ridiculous like that. This is a pretty great hand, guys. We might actually be able to get a victory here. Might be up against some classic werewolves, which could be cool. We can, yeah, no blue source that comes down untapped, so we might as well play the Shipwreck Marsh. That kind of sucks, not having the snare open here. Could be bad. Okay, good. So we can successfully play the other Shipwreck and the raid and keep the snare open, so pretty good. I like it. It's funny how much the vehicles were actually holding us back in the previous matches, but I can't tell, man. I really can't if I'm getting unlucky or what it is. Of course, you guys feel free to let me know in the comments. Or sometimes too, it does just come down to, yeah, some builds just are kind of awkward, you know? Some are nice and fluid and the movements of the deck just work together beautifully, and then others, they're kind of like, oh, they're kind of like running into one another, or we really want to be doing this turn, but if we do, then we can't do this, and you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining that well enough, honestly. Broker's Hideout, really? They have another, oh, they didn't grab green, so that might just be budget mana base. I'm gonna attempt the Spectral Adversary, especially if we draw like a Getaway Car. Yeah, the snare is 1 now, so that's pretty good. Tezzeret can come down this turn, but they have 2 open over here. Start with the swing. See what happens. I'd love to keep the Geistlight open, but I think getting Tezzeret down, or attempting Tezzeret, yeah, Thirst for Knowledge is pretty good too. Now, I'm going to attempt it. Let's see. Let's see what happens to poor old Tezzeret over there. He hits. Nice. See what we draw. We're looking for a Getaway Car for sure. Ooh. Okay, discard the Tenacious Underdog. I kind of forgot to go over the other reason why Underdog was in the deck at the beginning. That's kind of another reason. I like the second Spectral Adversary, so I'm going to ditch the Thirst for Knowledge there and keep the Adversary. They still have 2. They end up just drawing there. Whatever was sticking, they decided not to do it. Another tapped land. Okay. I'm not sure what we're up against, but it sure feels like we're up against some, like, blue-white control, and it could be budget as well, since there's a lot of tapped land over there. Hey, guys, we might get to test the Network Disruptor thing. Aw, man. It's too bad it doesn't have, like, haste or something. We probably just want to keep the Spectral Adversary and the Geistlight open. So let's start with a draw and see if we can find the Getaway Car, and then we can discard the Disruptor. So we might not get to test it, but yeah, that's fine. We'll get rid of the Disruptor here. Another Reckoner raid. Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, that 1 damage a turn could go a long way. I still kind of think keeping this open, though, and this, we can still get this down without... We don't have to phase something out. With the Geistlight, we probably get to counter whatever they play anyways, so let's just see what they end up doing here. They just take it back to their turn. So far, the opponent has played nothing but land. So, I don't know what we're playing against, guys. Nothing but land so far, I suppose. What if it's just like a deck that's nothing but land? I really doubt it. They go for the Soaring City. It's another land. Funny enough, we can't counter that, so yeah, Tezzeret gets bounced back to our hand. And we flash this down and win the game because they're tapped out. GG opponent. I literally have no idea what just happened. We have time for one more match, though. The good news, guys. The deck can win if the opponent only has land cards in their deck. So that's good. Good news, right? Is there a quest where you have to play land? Yeah, right? I think there's like one where you have to play 25 land or something like that. So maybe, but like there's definitely better ways to get that quest done than just play a deck full of land. Plus that's one that you just get done either way. So I don't know. Kumano. Hi, Kumano. You're gonna be around for a while, aren't you, buddy? I'm okay with that. I don't think other people are okay with that. I think a lot of people are already getting sick of seeing you, Kumano. That's okay. Okay, yeah. Good start for the opponent so far. We don't have a lot of great ways to deal with this, but we can get there. Another adversary. Hey, adversary is kind of an MVP so far for the deck, even though it hasn't won us games. No, well, it technically won us the last game, but I don't know if we even want to count that realistically. We trade, if they full swing, we Eater of Virtue. Woo! Oh my goodness. Opponent's popping out. This is turn 3? What? That's turn 3, guys. Don't sleep on Eater of Virtue, huh? That's a lot of extra damage, first of all. And now they get to exile the Kumano and give something haste with that too. So March can hit for 2. We have the Spectral Adversary open. Looks like a really fun deck, though. Fireplate Charger. At least it would have already gotten haste off the Eater of Virtue, so let's wait for the equip before we march for 2. And Reinforced Ronin. It might be better to actually Spectral Adversary kill the Charger, but I don't think so. Let's go for the X's to keep our cards in hand. That seems alright, I think. It seems alright, but it's probably not the greatest because it just saves us for 1 turn and to get 1 more draw, but like Tezzeret's not the best here. They might swing at Tezzeret though if we play it, which might save us a little bit of life, although Spectral Adversary does let us phase out and block next turn. Alright, I think Spectral Adversary is going to be the play here. They go for Iron Apprentice, and it looks like they're going to go for the 3-1 off of the Melter. Underplayed card right here, guys. Or the, the Smelter. Underplayed. I'm going to let this play out rather than Adversary right now and see where this counter goes. On to that, huh? Okay. Right. Yeah, we're going to die. We're kind of like super dead here. So let's phase out the... block the 4-2. I really want to block the Ronin because we're having trouble with that too, but phase out the 4-2, get rid of the Smelter before they do something like that again. Down to 7. Ronin bounces back to hand. We found a swamp. I don't know if that necessarily matters right now. The Thirst for Knowledge, we could look for removal. Surgehacker can hit Charger, but then they can deal 3 damage to our face, and we don't have a blocker for this construct. Tezzeret doesn't do a lot. I think it's Thirst for Knowledge on our own turn, guys. Be careful with the auto tapper. Make disappear. So we're gonna decline and get rid of the 2 lands here. And keep the make disappear open. But they have 7 on the board, so It's a GG. Good game. Woo, buddy, we got destroyed this evening. Ah, man. But hey, it's like I've been saying, with rotation so very close, let's not try to take any of the decks too seriously, right? We actually made some pretty good time. We're 45 minutes in. Let's go ahead and go over the deck again. And like I said earlier, at least I hope I brought it up earlier. Yeah, this was a suggestion down in the comments section, and this was a really cool suggestion. Honestly, I thought this was going to do way more than what it actually did. The opponents really had it, and we really didn't. So let me know what you guys would change down in the comments, of course, and try to stay true to the spirit of the deck, too. Some stuff that could be neat, I guess. Let me think, right? Because there were a lot of moments where we're like, oh, we want to see Getaway Car off the top. But at the same time, the amount of times where we just needed more removal. So Surgehacker Mech didn't do nearly as much as I thought it would have, but it still got out there, and it still did a thing, I think, once. And I think it would have done a lot more maybe if we had more vehicles packed in, because our vehicles right now, here's our vehicles. So it's not that many. And then, of course, our removal, too. This is kind of like, yeah, that's that. And then, of course, we had our counter spells with Make Disappear and Geistlight. And Geistlight Snare is actually really neat in here. I think it's way more common than you would expect to see, like, the Raid and the Adversary on the board. So having this be 1 blue is kind of insane. Something else, Spectral Adversary was definitely the MVP overall. Like, this card just happens to be really good anyways, and so it's kind of carrying the deck even through those losses. Like, this was our hope that we would actually be able to get there at some point. Getting that extra counter on it is pretty cool, or extra couple counters, because that helps us crew up even more. I think Tezzeret was pretty slow overall, and we didn't actually get to test to see if it would have made the Disruptor a 4/4. But it's still a pretty neat card. I would drop this down to 1, go up more removal, like an extra Fading Hope. I think Thirst for Knowledge was pretty slow too, even though we do have the counter spells and the instant speed removal. We didn't really see that happen. Instead, what we saw was, oh, we want to play a creature, but if we play a creature, then we can't Thirst for Knowledge next turn, or we can't keep open our instants and sorceries as well. So the mana was always kind of lagging behind, and it felt pretty awkward overall to play. So honestly, more testing is required, because 5 matches isn't the greatest sample size for something like this that, you know, obviously doesn't see a lot of play. So we just don't know if we got incredibly unlucky, or if the deck is always going to draw that way and stuff like that. Reckoner Raid is really good too. The extra damage on the first 2, even the life gain comes in handy too. Yeah, this card's just good, isn't it? In the right build, I think that this is just a pretty solid card. And we know how much I love Reckoner Raid with the Getaway Car, of course. We actually played a Rakdos Getaway Car build with the Reckoner Raid, and it's just, yeah, it's good. I like it. All right, guys, yeah. Let me know what you thought, and if you made it this far into the video, y'all are champions, and I super duper appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.